Summer Camp, June 2008. A raucous crowd of boys gather around the floor of a log cabin after a spaghetti dinner. The camp counselor asks them what movie they want to watch. Cheers for Spaceballs and Shrek fill the air. The cabin door flies open. Take shelter, they hear. The lights go out. Kids fling themselves under tables. The roof flies off. An EF3 tornado has just hit the Little Sioux Scout Ranch. June 11th, 2008 began just like any other day at Little Sioux Scout Ranch. The boys were woken up early and treated to a day of archery practice, GPS training, and first aid lessons. 96 scouts from Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota were gathered at the camp. They were the best of the best, handpicked by scout leaders to attend the foremost leadership retreat in the region. They had been at camp for several days at that point, a rainy and windy week not stopping them from having fun. Accompanying them were 24 youth staffers and 10 adults, the camp full to the brim. By the late afternoon, the sky had cleared up, pure blue above their heads, only patchy white clouds occasionally blotting out the sun. Yep, by early evening, adult staff at camp had ordered the boys and the youth staff into two shelters on opposite ends of the ranch, the south cabin and the north cabin. They were concerned by reports of hazardous weather on the way over the radio. The region had just been put under a tornado watch. Earlier in the day, the Storm Prediction Center had placed much of the Missouri River Valley under a moderate risk of severe storms, with a 15% significant tornado risk corresponding with it. Looking at the afternoon surface map, a classic setup was brewing, with a strong 996 millibar low-pressure system present over South Dakota, with a stationary front drifting eastward into the Great Lakes. Extended from the low southward was a strong cold front with 15 to 20 degree temperature differences along it. In the warm sector, upper 60s dew points and backed southeast surface winds would create a highly unstable and sheared environment for explosive severe storms. At 500 millibars, or the upper levels of the atmosphere, an abnormally strong trough for June was shaping up to eject over the central plains and upper Midwest. At 850 millibars, or the low levels, 40 to 55 knots of southwesterly flow were additionally present across the region. With strong upper-level winds, intense wind shear, and plenty of instability, the region seemed primed for a tornado outbreak. Staff and campers remember looking up at the sky on the way back to the cabins. Some thought it was silly they were being forced inside. The sky above was still clear, after all. But they knew it was for the best. They were Boy Scouts, after all. And Boy Scouts are always prepared. In the shelters, they were treated to a spaghetti dinner, lavish for camp life. As they ate, camp staff looked back outside. It was windier now. Clouds were rushing in. An ominous darkness loomed in the distance. For them, and for the boys, they were unaware of how severe the storm approaching them truly was. Little Sioux Scout Ranch is relatively isolated. Located within a valley in the rural Les Hills, a rare area of higher elevation on the edge of the Missouri River floodplain. They lacked access to cable television and radio, all of their information being transmitted to them by Camp Ranger Nathan Dean, who lived right at the camp gates. Dean at the time was home with his wife and 3 children, 7-year-old Axton, 2-year-old Avon, and 2-month-old daughter Aisley. While eating dinner with his family, Dean was still listening attentively to his NOAA weather radio, when that ominous EAS tone sounded. A tornado warning had been issued for Little Sioux. Back at the cabins, Fred Ulrich and other adult staff wasted no time ushering the boys, some of whom had made their way back outside after their meal, back into the shelter. While hunkering down, they passed the time with a discussion about what movie they were going to watch once the storm passed. Things were lighthearted. Everyone was calm. But just a few miles away in Burt County, Nebraska, a tornado was quickly intensifying, and making a beeline for Little Sioux. 25 miles to the south, locals camped out atop an I-29 overpass in the town of Missouri Valley capture the blossoming storm as it crosses the Missouri River. Hidden behind that rain is a monster tornado, packing winds over 136 miles per hour and rapidly intensifying. Approximately 2 miles north of Little Sioux Scout Ranch, storm chasers Corey Hartman and Kenny Allen are driving through the heavily forested Les Hills, pursuing the storm as they track it on radar. Visibility is sparse. Like the boys at the camp, they can barely see anything with all the trees and the curtains of rain that surround the twister. Eventually, they come to a clearing in the trees. Standing before them is a rain-wrapped wedge tornado. They call it into local news stations and the National Weather Service and book it out of the path. Or so they think. They stop for a while and watch as leaves, twigs, and full-on branches rain down from the sky.
How about the stuff that's falling down?
Oh my god, that lightning was...
Sorry, dude. Hold on.
Oh, we just got hit by a tree. Branch just hit our car.
There's got to be a rain-wrapped tornado in there. You got to get on the air.
Yeah, that'd be great.
There's got to be a tornado in there,
They
man.
realize the tornado is much closer than they initially thought, and turn south, unknowingly right into its path.
We're right underneath it, dude. It's swirling right above us.
Oh, God.
I think we're in the tornado.
We are going to go just a little bit
on.
south. They're on. They were on. Look at the debris. Oh, dude. Ben, tell me, do you have a fucking update? I got 42. Where is the rotation? We're in the rotation.
Is someone going to take this?
Ben?
Oh, here it is,
we're
right
in
here.
the tornado.
We're in the tornado right now.
Tornado. Our ears are popping.
My ears are popping.
Our ears are popping. The tornado is right over us right now.
Holy smokes. We are getting hit by a tornado right now.
We are in the tornado. We are in the tornado.
Can you still hear
just
me?
went over us.
The tornado
just went
right
over
top
us.
of us. You're taking
In the
our life
tornado.
now.
We
Our
are
windows
in the
still
tornado.
intact.
Both chasers escape unharmed. Back on campgrounds, Camp Ranger Nathan Dean walks outside of his home to look at the storm. In front of him, barreling through the Missouri River floodplain, is a massive twister. A wall of black and gray swirling violently, devouring acres of farmland by the minute, coming right at him. The sirens at the camp are sounded. He radios into the adult staff. Impact is imminent. He hunkers down in a storage closet with his family, just as the roof is torn off above them. Less than a mile away, Fred Ulrich is standing on the front porch of the north cabin. The wind picks up. The trees surrounding them on all sides begin to violently sway back and forth. His heart rate skyrockets, a feeling in his gut. Something isn't right. And then he gets the call from Dean. Impact imminent. He bursts through the door of the cabin and orders all 60 Boy Scouts sheltering within to get under tables and hunker down. When he turns back around to close the door, he can't get it to budge. The winds are too strong. Within seconds, impact. Fred is flung to the ground as the windows are blown in. The roof begins to peel off, the sound of wood cracking filling the air. After the roof goes, then comes the walls, exposing the boys hiding within the shelter to the twister's violent winds. As if on cue, right as the tornado strikes the cabin, it reaches its peak intensity, 165 miles per hour, just shy of EF4 strength. Some of the tables bolted down into the floor are ripped up and thrown, just as the winds topple over the cabin's massive brick chimney, directly into the structure. The carnage only lasted 30 seconds. But 30 seconds is an eternity when you're surrounded by screams, debris, and hellish winds. On the other side of camp, scouts emerge from the south cabin unharmed. The building escaped the twister's worst impacts, only mild damage done to the exterior. 2 youth staffers, Patrick Mason and Alex Lawson, venture out from the cabin, and quickly notice that most of the camp wasn't as lucky as they were. They notice that the tornado seemed to have come from the direction of the ranger's house, so the 2 boys rush in that direction. When they arrived, the formerly large home had been reduced to a pile of wood and stone. They couldn't believe their eyes, but as they looked on in horror, they began to hear something. cries for help. Nathan Dean, his wife, and his 3 young children were buried under the rubble. The 2 junior scout leaders wasted no time coming to their rescue. Despite the presence of nails, metal, and splintered wood, they dug through the ruins of the house for 10 minutes, until finally they reached the family. One by one, they'd pull out Dean and every member of his family. Mostly unharmed, they're left with only a few bruises and scrapes. At the north cabin, Fred Ulrich finds himself lying in the grass, the tornado having thrown him out of the cabin. He looks up. Nothing remains of the structure. Surrounding it are the bodies of dozens of Boy Scouts. Quickly, he gets up and rushes around, checking them for wounds and injuries. Within minutes, the scouts who had escaped major injury join him in this endeavor. Many dig through the debris, trying to recover those buried beneath the ruins of the cabin. Some opt not to, afraid of finding their friends dead beneath the wood. Every scout at the camp had ample training in first aid, and many carried first aid kits with them at all times. Boys applied bandages to their fellow scouts, tied tourniquets around bleeding wounds, and helped carry those with broken bones to secure ground. Fred Ulrich acted as supervisor, giving out instructions and helping when he could. It was when he was digging through the debris when he saw it. A motionless leg poking up from within the rubble. He pulls the boy out and checks for a pulse, but nothing. All he could do was cover the boy's lifeless body with his shirt. It takes roughly 12 minutes for first responders to arrive on the scene. They arrive from 3 states and 14 counties, 76 agencies in total. Within an hour and 17 minutes, all of the injured are taken to hospitals, some of them having to be airlifted. In the meantime, hundreds of worried parents rush to the camp, but are stopped at the gates and herded to a nearby community center where they await updates, many of them completely unaware of whether or not their children were still alive. Slowly, information would begin to trickle in. Parents would be told what hospital their children were at, the status of their injuries, how long it would be until they could see them. As the parents arrived at the hospitals, they were met with heartbreaking scenes and stories of what their sons had lived through.
We were in a wooden structured building on a cement foundation. What happened was we were supposed to watch a movie, power went out. They yelled, "Get under the tables." We got under the tables. I pulled one of my friends underneath me, laid down to protect him, and then all of a sudden the tornado came and just took the entire building with it.
The debris was it was so fast and so forceful. They were under the tables and stuff and on their knees, but no chance. The fireplace collapsed on and killed those 4 kids, I think.
This home video shows the devastation. Trees ripped from the ground and buildings torn apart in just moments. The tornado set off a frantic search for survivors who only the day before had run mock disaster drills.
They need to be reassured that they're okay. They're all trained in first aid for sure, and we're positive that the boys, if there was injuries, they know how to handle that.
Then we saw they had brought more boys in, and they just had them in their stretchers on the side of the hallway, and the boys started calling out each other's names. There's Kevin. There's Corey. This is Alex. I'm Jacob.
It's like they were roll calling each other, is what it looked like to me.
Still checking.
Just keeping track of each other still, even at that point.
The walls flew off of the building, the ceiling collapsed. I wasn't really holding on to anything, but I was trying to keep myself from flying away, and it was really scary.
As the news trickled in, the number of parents remaining at the community center slowly dwindled, growing smaller and smaller and smaller, until only 4 pairs of parents remained. Soon, they were told what no parent ever wants to hear. Your child is dead. Aaron Eilers of Eagle Grove, Iowa, and Josh Fennon, Sam Thompson, and Ben Petrzalka, all of Omaha, Nebraska, lost their lives in the north cabin when the chimney crashed down upon them. Aaron Eilers was the model of a Boy Scout. He always volunteered to help others, When he noticed an elderly woman in his neighborhood alone and in dire need of company, he started helping her take in her groceries. He even offered to help with menial tasks around the house, changing light bulbs, raking the leaves. When she died, he made Christmas ornaments for her daughters. He was only 10. Around the same time, he spearheaded a campaign to make over 400 pillows for patients at the local hospital. By all accounts, he was the epitome of a leader. It's no wonder he was selected to attend the camp. It didn't take long for word of his accomplishments to get out after the twister. Then Iowa Governor Chet Culver attended his funeral, and later declared February 24th as Aaron Eiler's Day of Service and Giving. He was 14 years old. Josh Fennon dreamed of becoming an Eagle Scout. He was a den chief in a local chapter of the Cub Scouts, where he mentored dozens of kids, shaping them into the leaders of tomorrow. He loved his hobbies, skateboarding, electronics, archery, and art. His obituary states, Josh had touched many lives throughout his short, yet very memorable life. By now, he already has a new patrol and is off on a new adventure in heaven. Heaven now has the best senior patrol leader. He was 13 years old. Sam Thompson was a fighter. Born 3 months premature, that didn't stop him from living his life with passion and pride. Look no further for proof of this than a quote he listed on his Facebook page, "My whole life is a happy hour." His family says that his favorite things in life were Jesus, his Xbox, his sisters, and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Over 700 people reportedly attended his funeral. He was 13 years old. Ben Petrozelka loved the outdoors. Fishing, hiking, hunting, you name it. He was doing it all the time. That's part of what drew him to the Boy Scouts, that and his love for helping others. He served as assistant patrol leader for his local troop, and was an obvious choice when they were choosing who to send to the camp. Those who knew him described him as being kind, respectful, polite, and loving. An inscription on his gravestone reads, "Do not follow where the path will lead. Go instead where there is no path, and leave a trail." He was 14 years old. The scouts who administered first aid in the wake of the twister were showered with praise and awards from across the country. Nebraska Lieutenant Governor Rick Sheehy presented an award to the entire group of young men who attended the camp, as did the Boy Scouts of America, who awarded 121 medals of heroism to the scouts and scout leaders for their actions during the twister. Additionally, the BSA also awarded the posthumous Spirit of the Eagle Award to the 4 boys who perished. The years since haven't been easy. Aaron Eiler's mother quit her job at Eagle Grove Schools because she kept looking for her son in the hallways. She moved to Montana shortly afterwards. The memories of that night have lingered with Justin Mueller and Tom White as well. Justin Mueller was critically injured, crushed beneath a wall just a few feet away from the 4 boys who died. He suffered a broken vertebrae, a broken jaw, a shattered pelvis, a bruised lung, and a concussion.
It'd be very strange being in a place where you almost lost your life 10 years ago. The wall over here coming down on top of me, and I briefly put my hands up like that, and everything went black.
Tom White was a youth staffer. He had been in the south cabin, but raced to the north cabin as soon as the twister had passed. Alongside Fred Ulrich, he discovered the bodies of the boys who hadn't made it.
Took my shirt off and covered him. And then I checked his pulse and I knew, so.
In June 2018, they reunited for the first time since the night of the disaster, back at the Little Sioux Scout Ranch. They sat in an open-air chapel, built on the site of the former North Cabin. Just outside of that chapel lies a plaque with the names of the 4 victims. Their pictures are a reminder of the young souls taken from the world on that day. In the years following, the camp also built 2 new multi-purpose structures, meant to serve as heavily reinforced storm shelters if the need ever arose again. Many camps in the region followed suit, building storm shelters to prevent a disaster like Little Sioux from ever happening again, with the help of the parents of Ben Petrzelka. They founded the Ben Petrzelka Memorial Foundation to raise funds for storm shelters at summer camps, efforts that help their son's memory live on today. In 2021, amid a national trend of declining summer camp attendance worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Little Sioux Scout Ranch closed its doors and went on the market. Instantly, efforts began to preserve it and the memorials to the boys within. There were fears that the camp would be purchased by a private entity, who would then redevelop it and make it inaccessible to the families and community members paying their respects to the lives lost. But in 2023, the Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation stepped in and purchased the property, donations and grants from organizations and members of the community helping them afford the hefty $7 million price tag. In May of 2025, the INHF announced that they had come to an agreement for a land transfer with the Iowa Department of Natural Resources, officially making the former ranch a part of the Les Hills State Forest. It'll be open to the public, preserved as a place for remembrance, dedicated not only to the 4 boys whose lives were lost far too soon, but also to the countless young men, leaders, and upstanding civilians who became the people they are today, thanks to the magical retreat we call summer camp. This has been Overcast. Thank you for watching.